So what a deepening course is if you have a practice and you want to deepen it, that's hence the name of these courses. And there's a few of them floating around. So really, well, it's for experienced meditators. If you're not an experienced meditator, you're going to have to do a lot of convincing for me to get you onto the course. And very probably you'll have to run the 6-week mindfulness course alongside it. So the deepening course is going to run for 5 months. It's quite possible I might run it continuously. And the purpose of it is personal development and transformation. So personal development, I'm a better me than I was. Transformation, something's happened all of a sudden, I'm a lot better me. But you can't, there's no way of, shall we say, engineering transformation. But personal development's the name of the game. Doesn't matter what you do, what your life consists of. You want it to be more fulfilling. You want to be able to contribute more, help the people you love more, become more resilient, all of that. And that's an incremental process. So it's very much bit by bit. And it's very easy to feel that you're not actually making any progress. So the way to do that is to look back. The old me and then the current me, and am I a better me? And it doesn't matter even if you're not, because you've learned that isn't got you where you want to be. So now what you can do is engage in a different strategy. So the way the deepening course is going to run is you'll get a training group on alternate weeks, and in the weeks in between you'll get an online one-to-one with me. So all of the information for that I'll probably put online over the course of the next week, and I will probably run that on the Wednesdays. So that will be January the 5th, and then alternate weeks in groups. I think it will be largely online as well, because of the fact that I'll be able to have one-to-one connections with people. The human factor of meeting in person can be dealt with that way, rather than actually having to teach everybody in person. Okay, yeah, so more to come on that, and that's about it for announcements. Okay, so I've been running this series called Mindfulness as Mental Training, and if you remember, the reason, well, you may not remember because you may not have been there when I said it, but the reason I'm doing it is because there's an awful lot, well, 95% of meditation online is just fluffy. It's not mental training. It's just there to make you feel what I call pink fluffy cloud meditation. I listened to somebody, this is a very, very, very typical, it was about anxiety. So meditation for anxiety. And you got this attractive young lady, well made up, obviously on places like YouTube. Everything is either education or entertainment, and clearly this was moved over to she's the entertainment, and she's got the upspeak, so everything she says she finishes with a upspeak. And so this is theoretically according to this, and there's reams of this on the internet. When you feel anxious, you just sit with just that word, just, right? You hear a meditation, you just sit with your anxiety. What? Obviously, it's somebody who's led a charmed life, right? So they're not speaking from experience. There's no when you're suffering from anxiety, there's no such thing as just sitting with your anxiety. The mental training series came from the recognition that what there needs to be is a way of countering this nonsense. So I'll teach a practice to help you to but to work with your anxiety while you're stressed and meditating today. And this is the de facto practice that people use, and is, as far as I'm aware, is the only one that you can rely on pretty consistently if you sit down and you feel anxiety when you're meditating. But I've extended it, I've changed it a little bit, as I always do. Upspeak is known as an inflection, according to Dave. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so it's an upspeak inflection, which I'll never do. Yeah, so it's not just about, for example, that I'm just using that as an example of what useful meditation is, which is that it's an incremental process. So let's take for example the practice that I teach for meditating, for coping with anxiety in meditation. Like everything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it. If you're not feeling any real levels of anxiety, there could be two reasons for that. One is you could be so good at suppressing it, you're not noticing it's happening. And I'd say that's probably the case with the vast majority of people. Or you just have a charmed life. So, yeah, you can sit with your suppressed anxiety. You can sit with what little anxiety there is in your charmed life. At some point, you're going to encounter adversity. And when you do, you need those skills. So this is where the just sitting with it doesn't work, because we can't predict the adversities we'll encounter, and we can't predict what our emotional response is going to be. But invariably, it doesn't matter, at some point in your life, you're going to hit a place where emotional overwhelm intervenes in your capacity to meditate. And so if you're training with a practice that is designed for a large amount of anxiety, then when that arises, you're able to deal with it. And the other thing you can use it for as well is physical discomfort. So, yeah, I'll guide us into that, but we'll start off with just a basic meditation. just a basic meditation. There you go, you see. Just is not a useful word, because this isn't just a basic meditation. This is the ultimate meditation, which is noticing the sound of the bell, moving through time. And noticing the rising and falling of the belly, accompanying that movement through time. Notice they're both moving at the same speed through time. One of the simplest and easiest things that we can do to intervene in anxiety is to intervene in stress. To intervene in stress, if we're sitting in a chair, feet flat on the floor, elbows by the side, head balanced comfortably on top of the spine, tongue gently up against the back of the top teeth, in contact with the sharp part of the bottom teeth. And if you place your tongue between your teeth and try to tighten your jaw muscles, you'll see that that's impossible. So with the tongue touching the sharp part of the bottom teeth, we're sending a signal to the brain which switches off the tension in the jaw, which switches off the tension in the eyes and the face, and sends a signal to the brain that everything's okay. And if you place your forefinger tip and your thumb tip very, very gently in contact with your elbows by the side, that will incrementally relax your hand. And this musculoskeletal tension retains stress in your body. So by doing this, by becoming relaxed and comfortable, what's happening is the tension's being released, which releases the stress slightly and helps to intervene in the anxiety. And throughout this, we're noticing the rising and falling of the belly, just at the point where the belly meets the chest. And we're noticing the entire movement of the belly rising and the entire movement of the belly falling. All the way up and all the way down. And right now there are whatever thoughts there are, and there are whatever sensations that there are. Okay, so we're actually, in a way, we're distracting our awareness from there, because the sensation of the belly rising and falling, it's a neutral area for many of us. There's no anxiety there. But if there is, we can focus on the breath entering and leaving the nostrils. So whichever of these is the most neutral for you, and whichever provides the most frictionless experience. And what we're training here is focus, because the mind will wander, or the thoughts will arise, or the compelling, powerful nature of the thoughts will pull our awareness away from the breath. And we're aware of that tension. If the mind wants us to focus on something else and we're focusing on the breath, it creates a tension, and we let that tension go on the out breath. Especially the out breath as the belly falls. And we can check in with our physiology, notice the parts of the body where there's tension. The one with the greatest tension is normally the shoulders and the back and sides of the neck. So by bringing our attention to that place, shoulders and back and sides of the neck, as we breathe out, we're releasing the physical tension, which is created by the psychological tension of the mind wanting our attention on whatever its current agenda is, whatever that might happen to be. So for many, if they're experiencing a lot of anxiety, it's a difficult day. Having the palm of the hand on the belly as we breathe out. And as we release tension from the shoulders, and wherever else we notice it, could be the face, could be the jaw, remembering that if you have tension in the jaw, like 20% of our society does, and you notice it creeping back, with your tongue against the sharp part of the bottom teeth, you need to focus your attention on that sensation as you breathe out. And what we're doing here is associating the practice in our brain as a response to anxiety. And another element of the practice to associate in our brain with anxiety is noting the process of releasing physiological tension. And the word we use is releasing. Releasing. As you scan that part of the body where the tension's greatest. Could be the face, could be the jaw, eyes, shoulders, neck. Could be the chest, could be the hands, could be the belly. So this isn't a meditation for anxiety, this is just us grounding ourselves when there is emotion in our experience. Now what we need to do is to select a neutral spot. So the neutral spot that I used, and I use when I'm guiding this, is my knee, because I feel no emotion in my knee. So we want a part of the body where there's no emotion. For many of us, anxiety, for example, creates symptoms, sensations in the body, and they tend to be between the forehead and the waistline, down the front of the body. So we pick something else, and because there's not much sensation in the knee, what I do is tap it very, very gently, repeatedly. And I bring my attention to that sensation. I'm immersing myself in the sensation of the knee. If the mind wanders, return our attention back to the sensation in the knee again. And there may be somewhere in the body that we find a little, or it could be a lot, of sensation associated with anxiety. So if we're going through an anxious period. If we're not, we know where that place is because that's the place we notice our anxiety. So all we do, for 2 out breaths, we bring our attention to that place. As we breathe out, saying in the mind, releasing, especially noticing the feeling at the end of the out breath. Releasing, releasing. And then back to the neutral spot. If the mind moves attention back to the place where there's an anxiety sensation, or if the mind moves attention to wherever the thoughts are, or some future scenario or memory or anything else, we just move our attention back to the neutral spot. We're immersing ourselves in that feeling of the neutral spot. So this meditation, we're actually spending the vast majority of our time focusing away from any anxiety-related discomfort. And then what we're doing is kind of dipping our toe in the water with it reasonably regularly. When we do that, breathing in normally, breathing out slowly, saying in the mind as you focus on the source of discomfort, could be physical pain as well as emotional discomfort, saying in your mind, releasing as you breathe out, especially noticing the sensation at the end of the out breath, releasing, releasing, and then back to the neutral spot. Again, immersing our sensation, ourselves in the sensations there. And then once more, breathing in normally. Just, it's a lighter tension on the area where there's discomfort. It's not a deep, sharp, focused attention. We're just, it's like you're putting your hand near a fire rather than putting your hand in a fire. That's how close we get to that. Nice long out breath, releasing especially noticing the feeling at the end of the out breath, releasing. And then back to the neutral spot again. Just letting your mind be free. And now bring your attention to the sensation of the air entering and leaving the nostrils. Checking in with the body, feet flat on the floor, elbows by the side, head balanced comfortably. Chin mudra, fingertips and thumb tips, very, very gently in contact. They become disconnected, put them back together again. If they become tight, release them. We want the same sort of pressure that you get that would allow you to slide a cigarette paper between. All the time noticing the breath in the nostrils. Now what we're going to do is focus on that entire process. So from the beginning of the in-breath, staying with the sensation in the nostrils all the way to the end of the in-breath. Noticing that there's a tiny moment where there's no in-breath or out-breath, and then slowly out-breath. And then we're at what I call the bottom of the breath, point where the out-breath ends, the in-breath begins. In-breath, top of the breath. Out-breath, bottom of the breath. And now focusing on the out-breath. And extending it ever so slightly. Number of ways that you can extend the out-breath. Making it slightly audible works well. The more audible you make it, the longer it can be. But we're looking at 6 or 7 seconds. That's the kind of extension that we want. You can count that in your mind as you breathe out. 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, 4, 1000, 5, 1000, 6, 1000. Now there's a very subtle emotional change between the in-breath and the out-breath. The in-breath, body's moving into sympathetic mode, which is moving into stress mode. So as you breathe in, you'll notice alertness. As you breathe out, body's moving into parasympathetic mode, which is relaxation. As you breathe out, you notice the warm feeling of relaxation. In-breath, cool alertness. Out-breath, warm relaxation. The ideal cycle, if you wish to regulate your breaths, up to you whether you do this or not. 4 seconds on the in-breath, 6 seconds on the out-breath. So breathing in, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, out, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000. In, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, out, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000. Now you've got the rhythm, the body's going to follow it reasonably closely, doesn't have to be exact. The out breath's longer as you breathe out, saying in your mind, releasing. Next out breath, releasing. And letting any tension that comes to your attention out of your body as you breathe out. And now allowing your breath to be free, breathing in and out totally naturally. Probably notice you're breathing very lightly now. It's because the previous practice reset your O2, CO2 balance. Your body's totally balanced, so the breath doesn't have to work hard to get you enough oxygen or expel enough carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. Now a very light focus on the out breath. And notice the sensation, the feeling at the end of the out breath. So this now all becomes about noticing the feeling at the end of the out breath. for many of us, there's a tiny little burst of joy at the end of the out-breath. Just at the point that the out-breath stops. So the entire breath becomes something that brings us back to that sensation at the end of the out-breath. And now what we do is we include a mantra as we breathe out on the first out-breath, say in the mind, may I be well. Still noticing the little burst of joy, if you do notice it, at the end of the out-breath. Second out-breath, may I be happy. Third out-breath, may I be free from suffering. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. Doesn't matter where the mind takes you. Whenever you notice that you're drifting away, allow yourself to be aware of the mantra and the out-breath. If your mind takes you into a dreamy, sleepy place, that's fine. What you do is stay there. So the pendulum of the mind wandering noticing that, back to the breath, mind wandering, noticing back to the breath. If the pull of the mind into the sleepy, dreamy place is strong, when you find yourself there, you just stay there. At the boundary between sleeping and waking. If you do drift off, your head will nod. It's there to wake you up. When you wake up, you just come back into the sleepy, dreamy place. Don't try to force alert awareness on yourself. Like the boundary between the water and the land when you're walking along a beach, and the waves are rolling over your ankle, then washing away. Tiny little waves on a very flat beach. We've all done that, walking along the wet sand. One moment we're wet, next moment we're dry. Same with the mind. One moment we're almost asleep, next moment we're almost awake. Every so often letting the tightness out of the body, as it tends to creep in. Just releasing whatever tightness there is in the out breath, and back to noticing the breath. Any sort of tension that arises, physical tension, tension in the mind, tension in the thoughts, when that arises, check in with the body. You'll find that the tension in your muscles mirrors it. So if a difficult thought arises, my muscles will respond. because it will perceive there to be a threat. And you can let that tightness out on the out breath. And back to noticing the movement of the belly. Belly rising, belly falling. Notice it moving through time. Notice the sounds around you. Again, checking in with the body. Any tension, let it out. Any posture adjustments to relax yourself more. Noticing the movement of the sound of the bell. Through time. Okay. So this is the training for the training. Okay. So you come here no matter what your glad you enjoyed that, Sue. You come here no matter what your state of mind is. So you could be in quite a difficult place. So you go through this training and actually you don't feel any better at the end of it. But it's the training for the training. So then what you do is you go and train it, but the place and time you train it is according to the 4 rules of meditation that I teach, is fix your roof in the sunshine. So you find the time of the week or the month or the day when you feel the most powerful. You've learned the technique, the practicalities of it, then that gives you an opportunity to use it at a point where you're going to not feel bad, not feel overwhelmed, and so on. Then you're training yourself to do these things. You're training yourself to become aware of all of your inner experience when it's uncomfortable and unhelpful. You're training yourself to respond to that by changing your posture, letting tension and tightness out, which reduces the musculoskeletal tension, which intervenes in the physiological stress, which diminishes the anxiety. You're also learning the practice of the neutral spot meditation. And remembering the other rule of meditation, you're in control. When you're doing something like the neutral spot meditation, you don't, I mean, you sit down and you're feeling anxious, you don't have to meditate. Yeah, you can use the modern uncomfortable feeling strategy of having a glass of wine and watching something on Netflix, right? And you can come back to it later. And when you're doing it, the amount of time that you spend bringing your attention to wherever the anxiety is, you're in control of that as well. And it's baby steps. So it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And it's keep coming back to the basics over and over again. And what you're looking for is whichever meditations elevate your mood the most. That's the measure of meditation, is what is it that either neutralizes my unsatisfactoriness, because it's all moving and it's moving towards elevated mood from depressed mood. So if you find a practice that at any point neutralizes how you feel, then what you do is you practice that when you feel good, so that you can practice it when you feel a bit icky, and then you're able to deal with the ickiness, and then you're able to deal with biffy, boredom, impatience, frustration, irritation, and then what you're working our way up through the baby steps practice to dealing with whatever anxieties there are. And each time as you do this, it's an incremental practice. A little bit better, a little bit better. Oh, worse. Let's go back and do something else. Maybe meditation's not the thing today. Netflix. Then back. When feeling better the following week. And so what we're doing is building this practice that then grows and grows and grows in effectiveness. Efficacy is the word of the moment. And in time, when really uncomfortable things happen, your body kicks in straight away. You're noticing the out breath. Find myself making long shushing noises from time to time. And what's happening is I've trained myself to move into relaxation by extending the out breath, just like babies do. When they go, wah, they're soothing themselves by moving, extending the out breath audibly, and also calling for mummy at the same time. So it's a dual use thing. So soothe myself and call for mummy at the same time. Wah. But I can't do that because I'm a middle-aged old bloke, and it'd get me an extra seat on the bus though, wouldn't it? I wouldn't have to put my bag next to it. Okay, so there we go. So that's all of the things that we've been learning. Focus and the elevated mood. See if you can find that bit of joy at the end of the out breath. It's a very powerful thing. What's happening is it's converting anxiety into joy. That's the opposite of fear, is joy, as I explained the other day. It's not love. Because joy is what happens when the fear goes. Okay. Right, that's it. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Okay. Have a great week, everybody.